Good evening. This is Rudy Giuliani, and this is America's Mayor live from Florida, from Palm Beach, Florida. Uh, just about a mile from the summer or winter White House, whatever we want to call it. Pretty soon, God willing. Uh, so what we're going to do now is we have several guests, and we're going to go over a group of topics, and we're going to ask them what they think about it, and who they think would be better to handle it if they've come to that opinion, and how important they think it is in the election. And the order in which I'm going to do it is not a reflection of what I particularly think is the most important, or maybe it is. I don't know. I think it probably is. And I would start with the border, and I start with the border because this is in human history. I don't know of a situation where more than 10 million people came into a country in a 3.5 year period. So let me just establish it for you. The records of the Immigration Service officially show that they have taken down the names of and allowed to enter the United States 8 million people. They are all illegal, but they're entered mostly because they're claiming asylum. And rather than being incarcerated, as we used to do when I was in the Reagan administration, or sent back right away, as Trump did very often, they were all paroled. They were given a piece of paper, and the piece of paper said, come back for a hearing in 2028. If you lose the paper, I guess you stay here forever, right? So there are about 8 million of those people. In the old days, when there used to be less than 1 million of them in a year, they used to be vetted. So lots of questions were asked, and a lot of them, were put aside for disease, or put aside because there was a suspicion of crime, or put aside for all kinds of reasons. But none of these people were. In fact, it's even questionable as to some of them were even questioned at all. Then there are the people that are called gotaways. They're the people that somebody in immigration saw, entered it on a piece of paper somewhere, but never got a chance to catch them. So that might mean a name. It might mean a description. It might mean just an entry. So there are about another 1.8 million like that. So that gets you to 10 million. And then there's the group that's really a fog, and that's the people you never get to see. Remember the border, how big it is, right? So you have about 12 border stations. In between that border stations are miles and miles and miles and miles and miles of empty land. Forever, people come across that without detection. Nowadays, people come across it, and that's a great commodity for the Mexican cartels. They sell those easy entries, safe entries, to high value criminals. So let's say you want to bring in a massive amount of cocaine or fentanyl. You pay them either in money or kind, and they'll get you across, and nobody ever gets to see you. Suppose you're China, you want to get a bunch of spies in. Come over that way. The general estimate in the past, before everybody became liars, and this comes from MIT, University of Pennsylvania, that the number of people that we never get to see is a function of the number of people who we do get to see. Usually it's between 50% and 200% of that number, depending on how overloaded immigrate. The more overloaded, the higher the percentage, which would argue for almost 200%. So we'll make it 100%. So what does that mean? That means 15 to 20 million. So we have 15 to 20 million people here illegally. Just to get perspective on that, Ellis Island, that you all know about, 12 million people came in. 15 million people have come in 3.5 years. The 12 million that came in Ellis Island did it over a 70-year period, and they were all vetted, and many were kept in hospitals before they came in. Many were sent back. That is, remember, 12 million over 70 years, 15 million or more over 3.5 years. And we have a country that is ravaged by illegal alien crime. So, who would like to say something about that and what they think should be done about it, and how important should that be in the election?
So we're
Who should we start with, Ted? You
So-
want to just call on someone or let them?
yeah, so we're waiting on a couple of our participants, but maybe we can start out with two of our Republican representatives. So we'll bring up Paulina and Ashley, and maybe they want to chime in. Mayor, why don't we repeat the question for them?
Well, the question is, how important do you think the border will be in the election, and as opposed to other issues like the economy, abortion, foreign policy, the war in Israel, the war in Ukraine?
Hi, my name's Paulina. I'll talk. I was on the podcast last week with Rudy, and we touched upon this topic a little bit. I think the border is extremely important because of the main reasons, like human trafficking and illegal migrants coming and being financially placed ahead of American citizens, especially during the tragedies that have just happened with the hurricanes, and how American citizens were given a measly $750 as opposed to illegal aliens in blue states who have been given apartments and thousands of dollars. It's unjust.
Hi, everyone. My name is Ashley, and
Ashley, before you answer this question,
Okay.
because we're still introducing the participants, kind of go through your background and how you used to be a Democrat.
okay, sure. So I was actually born in Colombia, so I was adopted from there, which means I was an immigrant myself.
Mhm.
I was adopted when I was a baby, 2 months old. My parents, they came from New Jersey and they flew down to Colombia and they brought me to New Jersey. And I always, grew up believing in the American dream. I always felt so grateful for them, so blessed and fortunate to grow up in America where I did. And as a thing today in our society and today's election and the way everything is, there's nothing more important than this issue today. It is the most crucial, and it's just so imperative that we close the borders between the crime, first and foremost, you know, the crime. And it's not fair that just because no one was competent enough to come up with a plan on how to have a process where we can legalize immigrants the proper way through a vetting system. Okay, just because that was never put into place, no one was able to figure that out. It's extremely unfair to put our entire country, our safety at risk of these criminals, these people from mental institutions, rapists. It's unbelievable. It's
Right.
insane. There's no other country in the world that would do this to themselves and intentionally destroy itself. So closing the border is absolutely number one priority. And you know uh Kamala, the Biden administration, they failed. They failed by having the borders wide open, and all they did was cause harm to our country. I mean, not only that, but how about child trafficking? When I saw the movie Sound of Freedom, okay, there are hundreds of thousands of kids, children missing where are the children? Where are they? They're either sold to slavery, sold to sex slaves, or they're just missing or killed. It's, you know, God's children are not for sale. And it's, I think, I was raised like Irish Catholic and Christian. I have Christian beliefs. And I believe as adults and, as God's people, it's our responsibility to protect the children.
Well, thank you. I think that
And
was an excellent description of the problem that we face. And the part, Ashley, that struck me as the most important, believe it or not, is that in order to become a citizen, you had to learn about the United States.
yes, yes,
You know,
I
you
had
know,
to learn a lot.
The United States is held together by only one thing: a set of beliefs. We're not a common ethnic group like, let's say, Spain, Italy, Ireland. They're all Irish, Italian, Spanish, German, whatever. We're not one religious group like Israel or Pakistan, and we're all different. So what the heck holds America together? What's the glue that holds us together so we don't fall apart? Well, Abraham Lincoln said it best. It's our common belief in rights that come from God. Unbelievably important rights that we have made part of your being human, and enforced and taught more than any other country in the history of the world. Rights that are now being trashed, like your freedom of religion, your freedom of speech, your freedom to be safe in your home against unreasonable search and seizure, your right to having a lawyer, your right to be convicted only upon a unanimous verdict of a jury. So Donald Trump is the first person I know that was ever convicted without a unanimous verdict. There were yeomen in Richard the Lionheart's England that you needed a unanimous verdict to convict them. That goes back to the Magna Carta. So Lincoln used to say, Lincoln was once asked by a group of people that had just become citizens, and there were some Mayflower descendants there. And the Mayflower descendants said, "Oh, these people can't be as good citizens as we are. We've been here for 200 years." And he said, "No, you got it wrong. America's held together not by your being on the Mayflower or they're just coming in now. America's held together by a group of beliefs. And whoever understands them the best and believes them the most, those are the best Americans. So if you just have a weak set of belief in that and your parents came in on the Mayflower, you're not a very good American. But if you just came in and you just became a citizen and you have a very, very strong belief in freedom of speech, freedom of religion, then you're the much better American, because the only thing that ties us together are our beliefs. So that's why it's important that you be taught that these people that come in, we have no idea if they like us, love us, or hate us. They could very well hate America like the Democrats do. I mean, I've never seen since Obama, I've never seen American presidents with such hatred of their own country. Obama's wife was never proud of us until we elected him. I mean, she wasn't proud of us when we put a man on the moon. She wasn't proud of us when 300,000 American white men died to free black men. She wasn't proud of that. I mean, nobody else ever did that. Slavery has been all over the world, but there's no example of white men who died to free black people, except America. There are a lot of bad ones, but a lot of good ones. A lot of things to be proud of in America, and a lot of things to be corrected. But
Absolutely. I mean,
but you need to hold our country together. We need to have those common beliefs, otherwise we fall apart. And I think it's being done to us because they want us to fall apart. I think this is I personally think this is a 150-year communist plot to destroy America, which had got great push under Obama, who was trained by communists, as was Hillary. the guy who wrote his first book with him is a communist. So the things that they're doing are just too close to what Karl Marx prescribed as how you take over a government for them to be accidental, including, I mean, Karl Marx died writing a book about how children are the property of the state. Frederick Engels completed it for him. Isn't that what Tampon Tim is doing when he in Minnesota passes a law that says you can come here and you can change your sex, and will not allow your parents to interfere in it, even if you're 12 or 13 years old? It hasn't the child become the property of the state rather than what we used to be for the last 2,000 years, guided by parents?
That's right, Mayor. So I now want to bring in our third focus group participant. We're going to bring on Dan Donovan, the founder and managing partner of Stratoscope and Angresatech. He's met you before, Mayor, when he was the VP of Sports Entertainment at Guidepost Solutions with Bart Schwartz and Joe Rossetti. So I'm not going to speak for Dan, but Dan is here. I believe he's a registered Republican.
So we talked about the border, and we want to get into a couple of other issues. So the border is a big issue, but crime is also a big issue. But Dan, there's a dispute about crime. So a big one, right? So the Biden people, including Harris, right, say the crime actually hasn't gone up. And the Trump people say that crime has gone up both over the last 4 years, and that the statistics this year were falsified, like the statistics on jobs. So how this is an area that you know quite a bit about.
Well, we deal with, Mayor, we deal a lot with crime and risk in the security business of doing events. I don't know the stats. I'm not going to try and be a pundit on the stats, but I do know.
Good luck.
That was one of the big challenges we have is major cities that have lost the ability to prosecute, the ability to police. And we deal with a lot of different law enforcement agencies in a lot of different cities. San Francisco, you can name them all. And it's sad to see the law enforcement community that have had the power taken away to do their job, and the soft on crime DAs that aren't prosecuting actual criminals. It's hard for us to do our job. It wasn't too long ago, we had to just focus on the event perimeter, the event site. Whether it was in a stadium or whether it's in, a temporary site, we focused on that perimeter to keep people safe inside of that zone. And now we're really focused on the attendee, the guest, the fan from the hotel to the site,
Right.
which we never had to worry about. Right. And so it's a reality of what we're dealing with today. And it's a real challenge in our industry for sure.
Sir,
Yes.
identify yourself.
Rod from Broward County.
From Broward County? Your name is?
Rod.
Ron? So tell me your view on crime. And do you see crime as an important issue in the election? Do you see it as going up, going down? Or is it something that is not a factor in how you're going to vote?
Related to the border.
Well, yeah, that crime related to the border. We just had covered that before you came
So
in.
yeah, I'm highly concerned.
Crime related to the border and crime in general.
Yes, totally concerned about that as a voter. Yeah, I want the border closed down for sure.
So
I want the border laws enforced. We already have thousands of laws on the books. They just need to be enforced.
that's really true. I mean, how do you make any sense of sanctuary cities where, of which there are, I don't know how many, 70, 80, where basically in my city, former city, New York, there's actually a law or a decree from the mayor that the police cannot turn in illegal aliens,
Brilliant.
even if
Just
they commit
brilliant.
crime. So let's say an illegal alien raped somebody or beat somebody up. and they actually go to jail and they serve 2 years. Now they're coming out of jail. In the old days, when I was the mayor, you turned them over to immigration, and immigration threw them out. Now you're not allowed to do that in New York and Denver and Chicago, and they just end up in the population.
Yeah, I love this trend gang coming in too.
The what?
The trend,
The trend,
yeah,
the Aragua.
these guys are cool.
Yeah, well, they're real new, but they're a prison gang from Venezuela.
I think they're going to make a great impact, very positive impact to the citizens of our country, I'm sure.
They'll reduce the number. There's no question. They'll definitely reduce the number of our citizens. There's going to be, if there's something not done about it, there could be a major war in either Chicago and New York between the gangbangers in Chicago are already shooting them back and forth. They may be the ones that end up defeating them.
Mayor, if I could, just a question, because it's more philosophical than anything else. Why is the border political? Doesn't all of America want the border to be
I don't know.
it should be, the border shouldn't be a Democrat versus Republican topic. The border should be an American topic. We should have a proper immigration process for people that want to come in. I mean, I have an employee that has got her master's degree right here in Palm Beach, and Canadian. But because of a student visa mix-up, she got jammed up for like 18 months before she could actually work legally in this.
It's a very, very good question, Ted. Why is the border political when it's in everyone's interest, I think, that people come in legally and that criminals not come in, and that we get reasonably productive people who can understand America. And we're only going to exist as a country if people understand America. We're a country that exists in the mind rather than in the genes or in the ethnicity or religion. It's as long as a substantial number of us agree on some of the basics, there's no more America. And if you have people coming in that have no idea of democracy, no idea of rule of law, no idea, soon you're going to deteriorate America.
We had a process.
Oh yeah, sure. We had a process, and as Ashley pointed out, for her to become a citizen, she had to take a test, and she had to learn about the American government and the basic rights.
So let's forget about the bad people that are trying to come across to do bad things in this country, which you're very familiar with. The ability for somebody that's not an American citizen to come to America and become a citizen, or at least be able to legally work in this country, is so onerous that now that's crippling. And so now so you got to believe that contributes to the border crossing of people that really want to be here for good reasons. They're not here for.
Yeah, I mean, there are so many coming in. There's no one reason.
Right.
If in fact you take the lowest number that could possibly have come in the last 3.5 years, it's about 12 or 13 million. So among 12 or 13 million, you probably have some wonderful people who are desperate, and you got some of the worst people in the world.
Right.
Problem is, we don't have any idea who they are. And you do know that if you have a wide open border, then certain groups are going to take advantage of it. The child traffickers, the human traffickers, the drug dealers, the terrorists.
Well, the cells
Nobody's checking.
Right. The cells that, you were firsthand a part of the disaster in New York.
Right.
And it was the cells that were here. And you have to believe that that's happening today. And there's another incident that's going to happen. But, yes, the border is important, but we have to come up with an immigration process that works for this country. And the border shouldn't be a political issue, because it's best for all Americans. I don't care if you're left, right, center. It's best for everybody. So we've politicized it.
Yep. John, hold that close to you.
Details. Come on, tell me if I'm right or wrong. The whole thing's purposeful. They're stacking the deck. What right do they have to just open the doors? It's all a strategy. They're going to consolidate power into a single party system. It's all over. They're stacking the deck. I don't believe for a minute. And by the way, if they do that, they'll shut the border down in 10 minutes. They're not open-hearted. They're not big, loving people. It's all purposeful.
And the purpose.
It's all purposeful,
What's the
and it's designed to consolidate power in a single party system. And if you can't see that, and we get bogged down in the nuances of, oh, some people should, some can't, that's all nonsense. That's rhetoric.
Mhm.
And they love that we get focused on that silliness. Fact is, it's purposeful. They're consolidating. The whole idea is to consolidate our program into a single party system. And at that point, the board will be shut down. Well, no reason to do that.
Okay.
You know, it's really interesting too what a majority of these people are fleeing. They're fleeing socialism. They're fleeing high taxes. They're fleeing failed countries that the Democrats want to implement similar tactics here. It's just, and they'll often use the argument, no human is illegal. Okay, well, what about the homeless Americans all over Democrat cities? Are people not homeless too? No, people are indefinitely homeless. American people are homeless, and they should be placed ahead of illegal migrants that broke the law. They shouldn't be given apartments. We should be placing those American citizens first.
Okay. Well, in my opinion, I think most people know that they want to bring in all of these people for votes. Why else would you
And
not
listen.
allow? Yes, why else would you not allow voter ID? Maybe in the past, minorities were primarily Democrats and they voted Democrat, and maybe they weren't, as educated. But today, these Latinos and, as Paulina said, these refugees seeking asylum from Venezuela, Cuba, Puerto Rico, all these other countries, they know communism and they know that they want no part of it, which is why many of them are waking up and they're voting conservative. They're voting for Trump because they know that we need closed, safe borders. And yeah, there may be two different sets of populations, people who actually are patriotic, they love America, they want to live the American dream. You have maybe that population along with innocent women and children, okay. But the criminals and the people who belong in mental asylums, that's, you cannot compare the two. The drug cartels, the violence, the fentanyl on the streets, killing everybody. New York City, I grew up going to New York City when you were the mayor there and you were America's mayor. And I remember vividly in my history class in high school when 9/11 happened and time froze. The country froze. And the way you handled everything after 9/11, it was just so admirable. And you were a hero for it. Like, you were. Everyone loved you and praised you, and it was incredible. Back then, New York City was safe. It was fun. It was clean. It was the fun place to go and be and party and have fun. And you go there today, and it's absolutely depressing. There's
Well, we're
crime
going there tomorrow,
everywhere.
Ted. That's not nice. Very depressing. We're gonna go there tomorrow.
It's a new day. But if you last week, you can see it on the streets, the homeless people, the drugs, the crime. I remember working there during COVID and I saw a homeless. I was chatting with a police officer and I saw a homeless guy right across the street who who was urinating on the street in front of us. And I asked him, I said, "Sir, what are you going to do about that?" And he looked at me straight in the face and said, "There's nothing we can do.
Oh,
The
yes.
mayor took all our power away." So
Well, that's true.
takes all of the power away of the police, then how can they do any good? How can they help us? How can they keep our streets safe when you
So what
use
is that?
the police
What
to
is that?
take away their power?
What is that? Let me ask. Matt? Wait, initial this? Nicole?
Yeah.
No, you.
So let me move it on also to education. So America since COVID has declined, and I was declining anyway in education. I don't know what the exact numbers are, but we're in the 20s with regard to math, English, science. We're not by any means the best educated country in the world anymore. That's true of our K through 12. Our universities, look, they don't teach anything. I mean, they teach you to figure out if they don't even teach you if you're a man or a woman. You
No,
know,
they
yeah,
don't. They just teach you that, you have a student loan to pay.
right. Yeah, I mean, and the more the government gives out student loans, the higher the tuition becomes.
Correct.
So it's like a
It's a-
revolving door.
Circle.
So first of all, is there anything you want to say on those issues? And second, let's deal with basic education. How can we improve it? How can we fix the basic education of American children?
Okay, staying on topic, we need to go back to when you were actually learning, not being taught to pass a test, and learning basic skills and life skills. And that's not being taught now. One, teachers' salaries are extremely low. Teachers should be getting paid more. And I think that's one of the reasons why teachers don't have an incentive to teach anything, because their pay is deplorable. Furthermore, the schools are treated as daycares.
As what?
As daycares. Parents just drop the kids off and just leave it to the teachers to take care of their kids, and it's a free for all, and God knows what's going on in the public school systems. Now, the parents need to be more accountable for their children. So you can't place blame on the education system, because it works in tandem. The parents have to review what's being quote unquote taught in school.
So you think that the basic responsibility for the decline in education in America, which has been dramatic, is the parents.
Oh yeah.
And the lack of funding?
Oh, of course. Of course. Parents play a huge role, and funding. When there's no funding and there's no resources, you can't do anything.
So
That's
when I was the mayor of New York, we were spending about $12,000 a student. We now spend about $28,000 a student, and they're doing much worse. So I'd have to disagree with you. I think the worst thing in the world we could do is more funding for the public schools, because they'll waste it.
Oh, I agree.
They have no idea that teachers are wonderful people. The teachers union is a communist organization, and they don't really give a damn about teachers or students. All they want are more money, and they want to make more teachers administrators. And the more money you put in, the fewer hours they work, the less they do. What in New York, most parents want their kids to go to a charter school, and the Democratic Party restricts the number of charter schools because the teachers union doesn't want them. So I don't know how we solve this unless we break up the public school system. Just destroy it.
Well, the public school system here in Florida is atrocious. Most of the schools are Fs. I mean, I would never send my child to a public school here in especially South Florida.
Yeah.
One, they risk their lives every day of getting shot.
So
Dangerous.
Ted, you're allowed to speak.
yeah, so
You're allowed to have an opinion, Ted.
we still talk. So
Should we let him have an opinion? I think so. Everybody wants you to have an opinion.
we're still on education.
Yeah, we're on education. Yes.
Well, I'm curious. Anyone here that have children? We know the mayor has children.
Well,
Anybody
they're
else?
not anymore, children. I mean, they're
They're adults. Sorry.
30 years plus.
Sorry. Yeah. What do you say? Have had children, right? But they're still,
I have a
I
grandchild.
heard that.
Right. I have a grandchild who
If you're a parent,
I think about how are we going to educate her. And I actually personally have become an advocate of homeschooling. I don't know what you think about that, But I
Well-
think if I were doing it all over again,
Yeah.
I would get together with my friends and we would try to set up like a little cooperative. And I would offer to teach something and they would offer to teach something and they would offer to teach something. And we would teach I love history. And I know it really well. I could teach history. I would love to teach history. Then I maybe have a friend who's a great writer who would teach English, and then somebody who's a great mathematician that would teach.
When my mom tried to enroll me in public school in our neighborhood in Brooklyn, I was 5 years old going into kindergarten. There wasn't enough room, they claimed. So I think that shouldn't happen in the United States of America. It's just obviously not run the right way. But a good thing. I always like to derive positives from negatives, and my family did end up sending me to a Catholic school, and I'm very grateful for that. And it was, and I mean, I'm God oriented now, and very thankful for that. But yeah, that's one thing that should never happen. And I think to touch upon what the other side said, my parents did really care about education growing up, but the opportunity just there wasn't enough room. And I think that's why we shouldn't allow more. That's why the border really has to be paid attention to. And to touch upon the topic, Trump did cover it today. He interviewed the mother of a 12-year-old girl
Who did?
who was Trump. He had her
Trump
speak.
interviewed someone?
Well, yeah, on the end migrant crime. Her 12-year-old daughter, Jocelyn, was murdered by illegal aliens let in under Kamala Harris. This is what she said, quote unquote. The Biden-Harris policies we have here are why she's not here anymore. Kamala Harris never reached out to me, just even as a human, to give her condolences. And Trump had her on the air today to speak. So, schooling is a really good topic, but when we have people in blue cities being killed, especially by, MS-13 is a huge crime organization, and the news never really covers it. But growing up in New York, you always hear about it. And those are illegal migrants that are partaking in it. And I always remember hearing stories about young girls being raped and killed. And, that's just more of an important topic, in my opinion, that has to be cracked down upon. And I also believe there was no room for me because of the illegal aliens. And everybody's entitled to an education, yes, but Americans should be placed first in America, and that's an American president's job.
Okay, so Mayor, you brought up a great point earlier about vetting, people who want to be citizens here and vetting them throughout the process. There are people who want to create businesses and do the right thing, but for all the uh rapists and criminals and all of those people, they do not belong here. There are many of them that hate our country, and you can see it on the news. They're burning American flags. It's unbelievable. It's so offensive and insulting.
Well, that's an interesting question. Because it is hard to follow all of this. Let me just ask each one of you. Do you think it should be a crime to burn an American flag?
Absolutely.
Let's
Absolutely.
go around. Let's go around. Yeah,
Absolutely.
starting with Ashley.
Well, I mean, it's a crime in the sense that it's destroying property.
Yeah.
But
Mhm.
should it be something more than
Yes.
That's a yes
like
or
if you have your own American flag
Mm-hmm.
and you go outside and you burn it, according to the United States Supreme Court right now,
Mm-hmm.
that there no if you were to punish that, you'd be violating the First Amendment.
Okay, so I'll
Do you
tell
think
you.
that should be changed?
Absolutely. I think it is 1000% a crime, because what is the motivation behind it? What is the motivation? Obviously, that person doing that hates America, because what else is the message or symbolism there? So if you're going to be that disrespectful to
Okay,
America,
Let's do 30-second answers on it. Yeah. So
Yeah,
I want to get to one. Paulina.
Yes, I do believe it is a crime because I think that's where the education system.
Shouldn't a person be able to express their anger at America?
Oh yeah, but they shouldn't be able to burn the flag. I think they should take a history class and learn the history of our great country and the flag that so many people died for our freedom. And they do have freedom of speech, but you shouldn't disrespect the flag that gives you that freedom of speech, because there's no other country in the world that does.
John.
There's no question about it. But look, I want to change the subject just for a moment.
Yep.
Why shouldn't there be a defamation case brought against Hillary for calling us deplorables?
Who? For Hillary?
Hillary Clinton.
Yeah. Why shouldn't she get the same treatment?
I like.
Well, wait. we represent, it's a large segment here, not to change the subject, of course, burning the flags.
Well, to ask
pathetic.
me,
That's pathetic.
whether Hillary,
That's an easy answer, okay?
okay,
Well, how you could ever
It
be an
is-
American and
it-
rationalize that's beyond me.
John, it isn't for a lot of people, believe
But-
it or not. But
But why would you,
I should-
how
I
would she
should sue-
characterize us as deplorables and not be challenged?
because she can destroy 30,000
Ah,
emails and not go to jail.
Well, it's
Well, that
How they gonna
was a different, that was a different scenario. They were firmly in control at that point.
No, Hillary's. I describe Hillary as being in the golden circle of people that she can do anything she wants. I mean, she's allowed to get Biden. I mean, she destroyed 33,000 emails. She destroyed her server. She lied her backside off. She destroyed the reputation of women from the time she was covering up for her husband, screwing everybody in Arkansas. And they treat her, well, nobody likes her. I mean, they treat her like I don't know how they treat her. Does anybody really like Hillary?
Yeah. That's a
I
great
I
question.
think her husband even likes her.
I'm just suggesting.
You know, do you know once I got really angry when Bill Clinton got caught with the young girl in the Oval Office, because I generally like to stay out of people's private affairs. And I think I can tell you who told me this. And I was talking to Dick Morris, who used to be Bill Clinton's political advisor. Now he's a Republican. And I said to Dick, you know, I never criticized him over all the rest of them, but this thing with the young girl in the Oval Office, Jesus. You know what he said to me? You don't have to wake up looking at Hillary every morning.
So going back to our question, so we can get the other side of the room.
Okay.
Should it be a crime to burn the American flag? Why or why not? And let's keep these answers to 30 seconds so we can get
All
to a
right.
few.
Yeah. Good.
I mean, I think the Supreme Court says it's not a crime.
Yeah.
Your personal property. Should it be? Yeah, I think it's American, you know, that you don't do it.
Yes, I concur. Yeah, if you burn an American flag, there should be some sort of a penalty. And maybe a harsh penalty and set some examples of
Mhm.
people who do that. If you're upset, I guess put it on a poster board and burn that. But yeah, not the American flag.
Okay.
I agree as well. There should be some type of civil penalty. I mean, if you want to express yourself that way, then I mean, it is your personal property. You aren't doing anything to anyone else's property or a federal property, but it should be, you're an American. We're supposed to be proud to be Americans. And yeah, no, if you were in another country, other countries are extremely harsh on their citizens. And I believe that we're just too lax in some areas where we should be more
Yeah.
harsh,
Okay.
and we focus on the wrong issues. And that's what divides us, when we should just get along. We have a right to have differing opinions, but that shouldn't divide us as Americans, because that's what we are.
Well, so now we're going to get to foreign policy. Yep. You have, yeah. Pardon me?
Education, because I feel like that's an extremely important topic in this election and in today's society. And as we can see, our education is more than lacking. When you look at other countries in China and India, they are so far advanced, those children. They're learning math, science, computer software, reading, writing, history. Those are the subjects that should be taught in schools. Okay. That's what I learned when I went to school. But you look at the curriculum today, and they have drag queens in libraries, in kindergartens.
I'm sorry.
We all know
It's
they
hard-
would
it's hard.
indoctrinate our
I'm
children.
too old to deal with drag queens in libraries.
Absolutely.
We're going in to see our military at it.
It's disgusting, it's perverted, it's evil, and there's absolutely no reason for it to be in the schools of children. There's absolutely no reason. It's obscene. And not only that, but whenever a parent so much as questions a curriculum during a school board meeting, the school board labels the concerned parent, rightfully concerned, they label them a terrorist. A terrorist. Are you kidding me? It's absolutely it's insane. It's insane. Like every day, it feels like we're living in the Twilight Zone in clown world, and it has to stop. It has to stop. Now, the whole
Okay.
curriculum
We got to give.
away, and we can start
We
over.
have to give other people
A chance.
a chance
Sure.
as well. So we want. I do want to ask about both the war in Ukraine and the war in Israel. And number one, should they continue? Let's start with Israel. The narrative of this administration is that yes, Israel has a right to defend itself, but it's gone too far, and it's killed too many Palestinian civilians, and therefore there should be a ceasefire and a two-state solution, so that there's Israel and the Palestinian state. Now, I have very, very serious problems with that for years. Actually, when they first announced it 25 years ago. But I want to know if anybody agree with that? I mean, does anybody think that should be the solution?
What's that, Mayor?
Ceasefire right now. No more fighting in Israel, and a two-state solution. Establish a Palestinian state and a Jewish state right next to each other.
So if you believe that the right answer,
That's what Biden wants to do. That's what Hillary wants to do.
So-
That's what the UN wants to do, and that's what basically all of Western Europe wants.
So does anyone here prescribe to that idea? We should have an immediate ceasefire, two-state solution. Does anyone on our panel here want to argue for that case? Not one person wants to. And that's interesting. We have a mixed crowd here. Okay, Ashley.
I can argue almost anything.
No, but do it because you believe it. I don't want you to argue for it because you don't believe it.
So two separate countries,
Two-state solution.
right? State,
Yeah, Israel in Gaza and in the West Bank, and
and they each
I mean
govern themselves.
Palestinian Authority there and Israel in the middle.
Two-state solution, that's kind of,
Okay.
being floated out there.
Yeah. So
And
if we
immediate ceasefire.
okay, immediate ceasefire. I know Israel might not be so excited about that since they were attacked first.
Or the
However-
Americans. What about the American hostages? I'm trying to.
Hostages,
Yeah.
they need to
She
be
didn't say anything yet, Dad.
okay. They need to be rescued. That's priority number one. Priority number
Why
one
haven't
is
they
we
been?
get our American.
What
back.
we train
I don't know why they
we
haven't
train
been rescued.
thousands of young men and women in special forces to extricate.
Right. They need to go do that immediately.
Their rate of success runs about 90%. We're probably the best nation in the world in extricating people. The second best nation in the world is Israel. And between the two of us, Israel has extricated a few of their people.
So you would think
Why the hell have we forgotten about I don't think anybody even knows their names.
well, that's thanks to the Biden administration for yes.
They don't respect us
exactly.
right now.
And they don't
us.
respect when our Americans are captured. Okay, that should be number one priority would be to rescue them. Okay, that's number one. Number two, I believe there should be a ceasefire because innocent people are dying on both sides and women, children. It's completely unnecessary. If Trump was in office, it never would have happened to begin with. It never would have even started. And what else?
But you think there should be
They need to stop.
By the way, we are not in Israel. Those are
Under attack.
This reminds me of the guy on CNN who was saying things are very this is a very peaceful in Minneapolis when Tampon Tim was allowing them to burn down Minneapolis. He was saying things are very, very peaceful here. Meanwhile, behind him is a burning building. Things are very peaceful here.
I think, Mayor, as it relates to your question about a two-state I don't think as Americans, we are educated enough on the history of Israel and Palestinian. It's a long running. It'd be like going back to the IRA in Northern Ireland. This is families and generations deep, right? The problem there is we've got terrorists that are causing the conflict with Hamas and then where are they being funded? And how is that all happening? And that's I mean, look, I'm no scholar on Israel or Palestine, but I think there are two proud countries, two proud groups of people, the Israelis and the Palestinians, who've been brought into this conflict by a terrorist group, and it's terrible.
Yeah.
And
There's a lot to that.
whichever administration thinks that they're going to weigh in on changing the Israelis' viewpoint on one state or two state, or the Palestinians' viewpoint and Gaza, I mean, there's a long history there. This is more a challenge of, yes, go in and let's look the atrocity of just about a year ago. And you're right, we do have the special forces that could do it, but so does Israel.
Mhm.
But it's funding of these terrorist organizations that's the problem.
Okay.
And that's where it's going to stop.
I think that's an excellent point, that the situation in Israel has been exacerbated largely by Iran, which is the nation in the world that funds terrorists the most. And but you got to remember that there are groups like Iran, like Hezbollah, Hamas, the Houthis, that are dedicated to the destruction of the state of Israel and the elimination of the Jewish people. And there's another very, very harsh reality to deal with that gets you in a lot of trouble if you say it. You can find support in the teachings of Muhammad in killing the Jewish people. The Quran contains substantial passages about how the infidels should be eliminated, which includes us Christians. That's why there were very few Christians left in Lebanon. When the Palestinians got up there, they killed most of the Christians in Lebanon. So the hatred has to be, before this is going to be solved, somebody has to modernize the Muslim religion and get the hatred out of it. They've never had a Protestant Reformation like Christianity has. And there are a lot of Muslims who just elect not to believe it. They just say, well, we're not going to believe that part of the Quran. But Muhammad, the leader of that religion, was a mass murderer. I mean, he would come into a town and he would do kind of what MS-13 does. He'd pick the most prominent citizens, he'd execute them, and then he'd say, you turn the town over to me, that'll happen to you. That's a hell of a way to spread a religion. And so when they're engaging in murder, it's not like they just invented it. There's about 1,600 years of this. And unless we support a modernization of the Muslim countries and the Muslim religion, we're not going to have peace. So I don't think you can have peace in Israel as long as you have an Iran run by the Ayatollah. He'll undermine anything we do for peace, and it absolutely frustrates me that we don't set as a goal changing that government. I don't understand, and I think it's infiltration in the White House. I mean, just this week there was revelation of a big spy operation within the State Department, including two people that Obama and Biden used to negotiate the nuclear agreement, who were spies for Iran. Why? I don't know. Why they feel this connection to Iran. Obama gave them hundreds of millions in cash. He sent them hundreds of millions in cash. And Biden took them from a country that was starving and therefore unable to support terrorism, which is where Trump left them, to $100 billion just from us. So until we straighten out our policy, I don't know how Israel can get straightened out.
That's right, Mayor.
So now let's get down to the election.
Yes.
So who do you think you're going to vote for?
And why?
Have you decided yet? And if you have, why? If you haven't, why not? And maybe I should ask anybody undecided.
But let's start with Nicole, and we'll go the opposite way this time. Maybe keep your answers to a minute or less so we can get to everybody. Starting with Nicole, have you decided? If you have, who are you voting for and why?
Honestly. You know, it's a really tight race. It's one of the tightest races. And you just have, well, you know, with Trump, you know what you're going to get. You definitely know what you are going to get. And that's what I love about him. He tells you that Diet Coke, that's Diet Coke. If I don't like Diet Coke, I'm gonna not drink Diet Coke. I'm gonna make sure Coke doesn't exist anymore. But with Harris, oh, I love Diet Coke. It's my favorite, and yada 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 yada. Or Diet Coke man, and this and this and this and da 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 da. But and then really? Does she really? I never see her drinking Diet Coke. How can you really love Diet Coke? And then you go on her website and there's nothing about Diet Coke. So I don't know, but I'm really leaning toward Trump, to be honest with you.
All right, yeah, I'm gonna be voting for Trump. He's an authentic person. He's a real person compared to Vice President Dolezal, who's pretending, who's just an actress, an actor. And I think it's a simple choice. It's a simple choice. I want strong leadership. She looks like a weak, pathetic person.
You want to get our maps out? Yeah. Yeah, keep going. Go ahead.
Mayor, I'm still on the fence. I voted for Trump in the past. I'm not both times. Yep. I'm not a fan of the non-presidential actions of him, but I am a fan of most of the policies. I just don't like the name calling and the how he acts.
So you like his policies?
Yeah.
No one upset by the way he acts.
Yeah, I mean, if you were the president, I followed you as the mayor. You wouldn't. I just don't believe you would ever act that way. And I think the office should have a person in it that acts the part.
Mhm.
You know, talks the part. So I got a problem with that. But on the other side, I've got a problem with someone that wants to raise corporate taxes as a business owner. That's a challenge also. So I'm a little bit in the middle still.
Right, right. I remember my good friend, the former governor of Arkansas, Huckabee. He used to say, if you got a really if you have need to have a heart operation, and you have two doctors, one of them has no bedside manner. He's a big pain in the ass, and he insults the hell out of you. But he's the best heart surgeon in the world. And the other guy is just a wonderful guy, and you really love him, but he's lost his last three patients. Which one are you going to pick? Where? And I have a different view of Trump because I've known him for 39 years, and I do think a lot of the problems he causes for self, but a lot of them are also because they get driven by the media that's very much against him. And then he doesn't get the benefit of anybody seeing the human side of him, which is quite substantial. I mean, there are parts of him where he's a tremendously good human being. But I do understand why people. I mean, every once in a while he'll say something, and I'll say, "Oh, why did you say that? We're gonna have to. We're gonna." And when I work with him, I mean, I was with him the last 5 months of the election in 2016. It was my job to cut down on his tweeting. Of course, I failed miserably. I failed miserably, but I did avoid a few that, man, if they had come out, who knows? But the other side of it is what you said, which is at least you know what you're getting. True. There's no pretense. There's no pretense. He'll tell you what he thinks, and he'll just come right out with it. And there's something comforting about that, in that the president doesn't have a hidden agenda. At least we know what it is. Yes.
it's authenticity versus fakeness at the end of the day. It's good versus evil. I'm going to do some scripture here from Peter. The enemy has a plan for your life to steal, kill, and destroy. God calls us to be alert and of sober mind, watching out for the schemes of the devil who prowls around like a roaring lion looking for someone to devour. And it's so obvious. President Trump has had 2 assassination attempts. And honestly, I've seen the headlines with what they're doing to you, Rudy, recently, where they're stealing assets.
Yeah.
They're
And
trying.
the people, the person who's behind that is Hunter Biden's law partner and a former lawyer for the corrupt company Burisma.
Yeah.
And the judge, the judge is the judge in the District of Columbia who didn't think the January 6 people got enough time. So she called all the other judges in. She was the chief judge and told them they had to give heavier sentences. So I had a trial before her, and I never had a trial. She found me guilty before the trial because I didn't turn over enough documents. And then she wouldn't let me testify on damages because she said if I testified to what I said in the deposition, she'd hold me in contempt.
Mhm.
And she put me in jail because she's bloodthirsty. She puts everybody in jail.
It's terrible. It's
And
terrible.
she just completely despises. When they really get to start hating Trump, it gets to be an illness.
Yeah.
It's like
It is. It's derangement syndrome. And Trump actually went to North Carolina. Biden and Kamala were nowhere to be seen. Biden was in a bunker way before the hurricanes even came. He showed his face on television to not even to sympathize with the Americans that have lost their lives and everything they own in their name, but to mock Trump and to be anti-Trump. That is not a leader. They're very scared of him. Trump is the American dream, and he's the right leader to lead Americans that want that as well.
You've got this connected to the wrong one, Ted. Okay. So I don't know what we're gonna do.
I'll work on that.
Okay.
Good.
Well, but you can't work on it because I
Can I
have to
talk?
put it up. Go ahead.
Okay. So obviously I'm voting for Trump. I think, in my opinion, Trump, he won the election when he took that bullet. He took the bullet for our country.
Mhm.
There's no one else who could say that they did that. So to me, in that moment, he was America's hero. And there's no reason to even have an election. The fact that this is even up for debate is comical, and considering, commie law, the fact that anyone can even that it's even an option. It's a joke. It's an absolute joke. And it's not. Everyone wants to overcomplicate politics. They want to make it personal. It's so simple. It's not a fight between the right or the left, or conservatives versus liberals. Anyone who's a Christian and a believer and has the Holy Spirit and filled inside of them and with intuition, they know that this is spiritual warfare. It's basically good versus evil. Everything the liberals stand for it's evil, it's perverted, and everything that conservatives stand for are, Christian values, character, integrity, freedom,
Free thinking.
free will. Hello? God gave everyone a free will. So, liberals want to say that voter ID is racist, but those are the same people who were forcing.
Well, now we're going to do what we do every Friday. Every Friday, Ted and I place our views about what's going to happen, and then we keep them recorded. And then after the election, we're going to go back and see how correct we are. So what you're looking at is an electoral college map. First of all, to sort of get the American people to understand that we don't elect a president based on popular vote. The popular vote is not irrelevant, but it's you can win the popular vote and lose the presidency. You've got to win the electoral vote. That's the system we have, whether you like it or you don't like it. When you run a presidential campaign, that's what you got to concentrate on. It's the reason why there are very few television ads in New York and California, and a lot of television ads in Ohio. Right? So this is sort of a layout of how the states exist. We're not even sure who did this, if this is from last week but let's review them quickly and see the ones that we can absolutely agree on. So we start on the West Coast with Washington, Oregon, and California, and there's probably no doubt that they're going to be Democrat. By Oregon, maybe less than 10 points. The rest will be 10 to 20 points Democrat. Then we go to, and you agree with that, right, Ted? All right.
Nope. All right.
All right. So then we've got the red ones that are easy ones: Idaho, Utah, Montana, where there's a Senate race at stake. John Tester looks like he's going to lose, the Democrat that's been there forever. Wyoming is clearly going to be Republican. South Dakota, Nebraska, but that little one that you see there, Nebraska has a strange way of voting, like Maine, in which they award two of the electoral votes based on who won the state, and then they award the other two based on the congressional district. And there's one congressional district that's Democrat. So, and I think it's
There's
3 and 2.
There's 3 total congressional districts plus the two additional.
So Trump, the Republicans tried to change that, and a Republican refused to vote for it. A Republican said, keep it that way. So basically, Trump will get 4 votes there, and Harris will get the 1 Democratic district. Kansas and Oklahoma, clearly Republican. Texas, I think he's over 10 points in Texas. Then we go to Colorado and New Mexico. Colorado is listed as solidly Dem. I think that's right. I don't think Trump is going to win Colorado. New Mexico is listed as leaning Democrat. I would say that's correct, right, Ted?
Yep.
Let's leave Arizona and Nevada as undecided, okay? We'll go back to
Those
that.
are both going red. They're going deep red this cycle. Arizona for sure.
Well, I agree. I agree with
The
that.
best Senate candidate in the country there, Arizona.
You mean Kerry? Well, she's
a rock star.
She's trailing, but Trump could bring her in. So now let's go across the country. Right down the middle of the country, Minnesota, I think we assume is going to go to Democrats because of Tampon Tim, right? I think there's a chance, but I would say for safety's sake, I would keep it Democrat. Iowa, Missouri, Arizona, and Louisiana, he's won twice. He's going to win them again. Mississippi and Alabama, not even worth having an election. Tennessee, Kentucky, West Virginia, Ohio, and Indiana. Yep, they'll be all Trump. Illinois, of course, will be Democrat. The land of Lincoln, Democrat. Unbelievable.
Makes me sick.
And then if we look at the other reds, we see South Carolina and Florida, absolutely Republican. And then we have New York, Vermont, Connecticut, Rhode Island.
So in New England, we're just getting that one
Yeah, I think
vote in Maine.
yeah, and they have Maine leaning Democrat as opposed to Democrat. They have New Hampshire leaning Democrat. It would not be ridiculous if Trump wins big, if he wins Maine and New Hampshire, but I don't think that's the case yet. Maybe by next week it might change, because I would say
Hampshire. It was towards the end when they called it, and that was like really what got it.
He did?
no, he's never won New
We
Hampshire.
did not win. We did not win New Hampshire.
He got very very close. He won Michigan. You might be thinking of Michigan.
Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin.
Pennsylvania,
blue wall there.
Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin. He won in 2016, and he lost all 3 in 2020. And they're probably
quote unquote.
they're going to probably decide the election. Georgia is definitely going to be Republican. He's leading by 7-8 points. The whole party is organized. I don't think they're going to be able to cheat the way they did last time. And so that leaves really just three states. undecided. Pardon me? Oh my gosh, yeah. Yeah. The last poll, he was ahead by 12%. So I'm very confident in Florida. Because he's ahead by less than 10. But he is ahead by 5, 6, 7. And last time they had him winning it by 2 points, and he won it by 8. I'm confident, and I think Cruz is going to win too. It looked for a while like Cruz was going to lose, but he's gotten ahead now. Of these 4 states, the 4 that's left, I'll tell you the ones that I'm most confident in. Believe it or not, you would say North Carolina, Ted. I know that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I would say Pennsylvania. But I love Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
And I got him Pennsylvania originally.
Pride of Pennsylvania. We have a few Pennsylvania boys in the house.
Well, I wouldn't say the pride of, but
Yeah.
trying to base.
From there.
Pennsylvania is the only state in the last 30 years that had a Democratic pro-life candidate and senator. So even the abortion issue is not a big deal in Pennsylvania. They're the biggest NRA state in the country. They do more hunting than anybody, including the West.
That undermines the capacity.
They do, but then, I don't think, honestly, I don't think Shapiro will be using it for him. Shapiro doesn't want her to win.
Yeah.
Shapiro wants to be president. Why would he want her to win?
See, that's my thought with Whitmer.
That doesn't mean, that's a good point. Doesn't necessarily mean they're not going to use
And
it.
Shapiro,
They'll try.
they'll try, but I think they're not going to have the full support of the party leadership because Shapiro figures 4 years, Trump's out. I'm the leading candidate for president, and they're all going to blame Kamala and Tampon Tim. Who? Casey?
McCormick.
Yeah, no, I think McCormick.
I think Casey will run ahead of Kamala Harris for sure.
Yeah, that's going to be closer.
Yeah, Casey will run.
That's going to be closer, but I think.
I mean, you're Pennsylvania guys, but I think that.
So much nepotism with the
I think.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So if
Casey last name plays well. Yeah.
if he wins Pennsylvania, he goes over 270, and he doesn't need North Carolina, Michigan, or Wisconsin. Except he's going to get North Carolina.
Yeah.
That's a
Especially
Republican
with what
state.
happened recently.
And I really do think that
Easy. Ashley's calling it now.
Dumping out all their raw milk. Are you kidding me? These people are fed up. When you go after someone's livelihood the same way they did during COVID, threatening to fire people who didn't take the shots for them, it's the same thing. Once you go after the community and the people, their livelihood for no good reason, people are sick of it. Same with New Jersey, same with New York. My friends in New York, they're sick of the crime. They're sick of it. All of it.
he's going to lose New York, but he's not going to lose by.
New Jersey. You never know. You never know.
He might go under 10% in New York. Now I'll let Ted pick Michigan because he comes from Michigan.
Trump's taking Michigan. President Trump.
Tell us why. You just can't say that. You got
why? Well, as he did in 2016, the last Republican besides Trump to win in Michigan was in 1988. HW. It's actually the home and the birthplace of the Reagan Democrat, right? For Democrat voters who the only Republican they'd vote for was Ronald Reagan. Macomb County. So his trade message, right? His economic message, his willingness to take on NAFTA, right? And those trade deals back in 2016, that plays well in a state like Michigan. He's the best Republican that we could put up to win Michigan. I don't think any other Republican right now, if you look at all the names, people that have run or are thinking about running, there's nobody better than President Donald J. Trump as a Republican to run in a state like Michigan. Same with Pennsylvania and Wisconsin. But Trump will win Michigan.
So that gives him with Wisconsin, that gives him 312
Right, we have a late comment.
electoral road.
Late to the party, but he wants to make a point, and he has a lot
Yeah,
of experience in
please.
politics. Come here.
Things I want to throw in. It was
Please.
a while ago.
Let him have the microphone.
I'll hold it. All right, go ahead.
So one of the things that I would bring up, and it was news a while ago, but it hasn't been news recently, is the Teamsters not endorsing the Democratic candidate. It's the first
Right.
time they've never done that. And people think that a massive union like that, that it's just a tweet, an endorsement is just a tweet. No, the unions have a massive, massive turnout operation. Well, that machine is turned off now. Well, that's a big deal in Detroit. It's a big deal in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
It's a big deal in Charlotte, North Carolina. That's a big deal on the docks, on the East Coast. So that
You mean the turnout machine is turned off.
yeah, the turnout machine is turned off.
And probably person for person, they're more Trump than they are.
Well, frankly, I think that's why they turned it off.
Yeah.
Because I think, as John Boehner once said, if you are a guy that, says one thing and all of your followers do another, then you're just a man taking a walk. You're not a leader. So, I like that. And so, when you talk about, and yeah, his name escapes me right now. He spoke at the RNC famously and was not invited to speak at the DNC.
Is that Sean Payne?
Oh, yeah.
Sean. Yeah.
The head of the Teamsters.
Yeah. So famously, he spoke with us. He was not.
Yes,
invited to speak
I
with
remember.
him. And so he probably, I won't speak for him, of course, but he probably looked at his own, delegation and said, "Oh man, my people are not with me, so I'm not going to do anything. I'm going to sit on my hands." And so
Bingo.
the turnout machine is now turned off.
Well,
That's a good point, and that's a very good point to make.
It's a monster deal in Detroit.
It'd be nice.
That's a huge good point. The turnout machine.
I should tell you that I feel so much better that the Teamsters aren't endorsing the Democrat, because the reason they're endorsing Democrats is because of me. The Teamsters were a Republican union. They endorsed Nixon, they endorsed Reagan, and then I indicted them in 1987, and I brought a racketeering case against them, and they said that Reagan double-crossed them because Reagan didn't indict them. I worked for Reagan, but I indicted them. Because they're a bunch of crooks, and now they've straightened themselves out after 10 years. After 10 years of receivership under, you probably know, Joe DeGeneva. He was the person that was in charge of cleaning them up. So now, if they come back to us, I'll feel better that I haven't cost us.
Well, Mayor,
But I should also add something that I heard right before the show started. The Washington Post, like the Los Angeles Times, is not going to endorse Kamala Harris. Not going to endorse anyone. The first time they haven't endorsed anyone, and now they've decided that they're not going to endorse ever again.
Can you imagine how bad?
Last
Mhm.
he endorsed the candidate. Jeff Bezos is afraid, and he's not endorsing, but they did. The editorial staff did write an editorial endorsing, but they decided not to publish the
Endorsement.
retaliation last time because Bezos lost about $10 billion because he endorsed the Democratic candidate on the direction.
Well, let's see if it ends up 312 to 226. How smart Ted and I are with your help. We'll see if we get there. And who knows? By next week it could change. Every week it's been a little different. And I really want to remind you that the most important thing that you can do as a result of this show, well, the second most important is you can go get 10 of your friends to get ready to go out and vote for Trump right now. Early voting. I'm going to early vote next Tuesday when I come back from New York. And I don't think there's much doubt about who I'm going to vote for, but I still can't bring you in the ballot box with me. But the most important thing you can do is you can go to t2t.org. That's t2.org and pledge $11 a month to help our catastrophically wounded veterans. Thanks to the generosity of friends like you, the Tunnels to Towers Foundation, welcome U.S. Army Specialist Brett Menard into a new mortgage-free home right here in Florida. Brett decided to enlist in the United States Army because of September 11, which makes me even closer to him than I otherwise would be, and his desire to be part of protecting us and saving us. And while on a road clearance mission in Afghanistan, Brett's vehicle was blown up by an improvised explosive device. in an instant, his life changed and his family's life changed. The blast left Brett a T4 paraplegic with traumatic brain injury, compartment syndrome in both arms. He's unable to use his legs, and he has severe internal injuries. He even needed a total face reconstruction because his bones and teeth were shattered in the explosion. Despite these overwhelming challenges, Brett's spirit remained unbroken. Because of the support of friends like you, Tunnel to Towers built him a specially adapted smart home that allows catastrophically injured warriors and heroes like Brett to live much more independently. So, Tunnel to Towers is building these homes as we speak. Their agenda is very ambitious to make sure all catastrophically injured warriors have these homes. And for that, they need your help. So you go to T2T.org. That's T, the number 2T.org, and pledge $11 a month. And it'll be really important for you to have done that. For you. You owe it to them. This isn't charity. This is something you owe because they keep you safe. Nobody else. Well, let's pray for the people that are at war.
Well, Mayor, and before we go, Mayor, I know I don't want to interrupt your prayer, but we have to let you know that Israel has began retaliatory strikes against Iran inside Iran within the last couple of hours.
So in other words, they didn't listen to Obama.
Secretary of State Anthony Blinken
and Biden and Harris. So they're attacking Iran.
Israel.
God bless them.
Israel confirmed that it has launched precise strikes on military targets in Iran early Saturday local time. The IDF says the strikes were in response to months of continuous attacks from Iran. The initial strikes appear limited to military sites and non-Iranian nuclear facilities or oil fields.
Well, that's too bad.
The strikes today came as Israel intensified its campaigns in both the Gaza Strip and Lebanon. While the U.S. was given a heads up on the strikes, it was not involved in the action.
Oh, God forbid.
Secretary of State Anthony Blinken finished a whirlwind trip to Israel and Saudi Arabia, where he attempted to get Hamas and Israel to agree to a ceasefire and calm spiraling tensions.
You know, it's amazing. Hamas doesn't want a ceasefire either. How the hell is he going to get a ceasefire when Israel doesn't want one and Hamas doesn't want one? And Israel doesn't want a two-state solution. And the second state, Hamas doesn't want a two-state solution. So, I mean, this is absolutely crazy. And until we realize there's only one way to peace in the Middle East, and that is to eliminate the Ayatollah, eliminate the reign of terror, get rid of the insane religious dictatorship, and let the Iranian people govern themselves. And they're ready for it. I mean, they've been protesting for 3-4 straight years. He's killed thousands of them in the street. They have an organized resistance government that could take over MEK immediately.
Good friends of the show.
And get him to an election in 9 or 10 months. And the fiction, because we know so little about it, and the media is so pro-Iran because Iran has done a great job, like Red China has, of infiltrating our media, as well as having a spy operation right in the middle of first the Obama administration and now the Biden administration. Now, people don't realize all of the protests that have taken place in Iran over the last 8 years. When Trump was president, there must have been 300-400 protests. Every city in Iran had protests. People in Iran carry signs like "Death to the Ayatollah," and then they get killed. That doesn't happen in Palestine. In Palestine, everyone is under the influence of Hamas. Unfortunately, the Palestinian children are taught at 2 years old to kill Jews and Americans. That's not true in Iran. Many Iranians still love America. So there's a real possibility that government could be overthrown if we applied the appropriate pressure. So once again, pray for the people of Iran. Pray for the people of Israel and Ukraine because they're at war. They shouldn't be, but they are. And of course, pray that the American people have the wisdom that they need to dig themselves out of the terrible situation we've been put in. And we'll see you on Monday, and over the weekend, we'll be speaking at the rally at Madison Square Garden, which I'm very excited about. I think the last time I spoke at Madison Square Garden, I gave the keynote address at the Republican National Convention.
Yeah, didn't Hillary Clinton just mention the rally coming up?
Hillary Clinton said it's like the Nazi rally, but she forgot that her husband was nominated in Madison Square Garden. What? I mean, it's a Nazi place for her husband, not for her. She's also so damn stupid and knows so little about New York that Madison Square Garden was in a totally different place when that rally took place. Hillary, let me inform you, you knew nothing about the state that you were the senator of. I was the mayor at the time, and you were useless. And Madison Square Garden was on 49th Street and 8th Avenue then. It's now downtown on 34th Street. It's a different, if it makes you feel any better, it's a different place than the Hitler people used. And if it was good enough for your husband, who, you may remember that period of time. That's when you were in charge of the bimbo squad. Remember all those women that your husband took advantage of sexually, that whose reputations you ruined? Well, that was about the time that happened. So cut out the crap, Hillary. You're a big phony. Hitler. Wow. You're going to get him killed if you keep doing it, which may be what you're trying to do because you can't beat him. You tried everything else. My God, you indicted him for... Al Capone wasn't indicted 4 times in 1 year. So this weekend, pay attention to the rally in New York. We'll probably be on a few times live to promo it. And then we'll see you next week at 7 o'clock on Frank's speech and on X. And then we'll see you at 8 o'clock on X. God bless America.
We're having the biggest sale ever on overstock clearance and brand new products. For example, save 60% on our Goose Down comforters, the best comforters ever. They go perfectly with our MyPillow bed sheets and duvet covers. Save 25% on our brand new kitchen towels. They're made with the same technology as our famous My Towels. Our initial quantities are extremely low, so get them now before they go. Our seasonal flannel sheets are finally in. You save up to 50% and they sell out fast every year, so order now. They're truly the best flannel sheets you'll ever sleep on. Or save up to 80% on all our clearance items. And this is where it gets even better. For a limited time, your entire order ships absolutely free. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use that promo code to get deep discounts on all MyPillow products. And for a limited time, your order ships absolutely free.
Oh, that's nice.
And it says Trump on it. And I think it's almost like a dress shoe.